I remember standing in the factory break room 40 years ago, wiping grease from my hands on a rag that had seen better days. I was 32 then, strong as an ox, but already feeling the ache in my back from 12-hour shifts. The foreman walked by, didn't even glance my way, and barked an order at someone else.
I thought nothing of it at the time. That's just how it was. You showed up, you worked hard, you kept your head down. No one thanked you for staying late to fix a machine that broke down, or for covering a shift when a coworker called in sick. You were expected to sacrifice, and in return, you got a paycheck that barely covered the bills.
My name is Henry, and I am 72-year-old. Now, at 72, I sit in my small living room,
looking out at the quiet street. People nod to me when I walk to the corner store. The young clerk there calls me sir, asks about my day with a kind of respect I never knew back then. It's strange, the shift. In my youth, I was invisible, just another pair of hands keeping the line moving. Now, in my age, there's a quiet dignity people seem to afford me, like I've earned it simply by lasting this long.
But between those 2 points in time, there's a decision I wish I'd made much earlier.
One that might have changed how I carried myself through all those years. It wasn't about quitting or running away, it was something simpler, yet harder to see at the time. I grew up in a small town in Ohio back in the 1950s. My father was a steelworker, home from the war with hands calloused from years in the mills. He didn't talk much about what he'd seen overseas, but you could see it in his eyes. A steady resolve, a sense that duty came before everything else.
My mother kept the house, raised me and my 2 sisters, always making sure there was a hot meal on the table.
We weren't poor, not really, but we lived careful. Sundays were for church, and the rest of the week was for work or school. I was the oldest, so I learned early to help out. By 12, I was mowing lawns for neighbors, delivering papers before dawn. It felt natural, this idea of contributing. My father would say, "A man provides no matter what." I took that to heart. When I finished high school in 1968, the draft was hanging over everyone's head. Vietnam was on the news every night, and friends were shipping out. I enlisted before they could call me, thinking it was the right thing, the honorable path. Service to country, sacrifice for something bigger. That's what they told us. Basic training was tough, but it shaped me. I learned discipline, how to push through when your body screamed to stop. I served 2 tours, saw things I still don't like to dwell on, friends lost, villages burned into memory. When I came home in 1972, the world had changed. People didn't look at us the same. Some spat, called us names.
I kept quiet, found work at the factory because it was steady, paid well enough.
It was assembly line work, building parts for cars. I married my high school sweetheart, Ellen, that same year. She was patient, kind, worked as a secretary to help with the mortgage. Our first child came along in 1974, a boy we named Michael, then a daughter 2 years later. Life settled into a rhythm, work, home, bills, weekends, fixing up the house. I took pride in it. Every paycheck meant security for my family. But the sacrifices started small and grew. Overtime became mandatory, not optional. I'd miss dinners, school events. Ellen understood, or at least she said she did. "It's for us," she'd whisper when I'd come home exhausted. Looking back, that's where the pattern set in. I thought service meant giving everything, holding nothing back. My father had done it, his father before him. It was our way. But dignity? That was something you earned quietly, without demanding it. I didn't see then how disrespect crept in, how it chipped away at a person's spirit over time. The factory was a world unto itself. Shifts started at 6 in the morning, ended whenever the quota was met. I worked the line, bolting frames, checking welds. It was noisy, hot in summer, freezing in winter. Supervisors were tough, some fair, others not. One in particular, Mr. Harlan, had a way of making you feel small. He'd yell across the floor if something wasn't perfect, never mind if the machine was faulty. I remember once, I stayed 3 hours late to redo a batch because of a glitch upstream. Came in the next day and he docked my pay for inefficiency. I swallowed it, didn't argue. What good would it do? Jobs were scarce and I had mouths to feed. Over the years, I saw coworkers break under it. Jim, next to me on the line, had a heart attack at 50. Worked right up to the end, never complained. The company sent flowers to the funeral, but that was it. No changes, no better conditions.
I kept going, promoted to lead hand after 15 years.
More responsibility, a bit more pay, but the same grind. Ellen worried about my health, the dust in my lungs, the strain on my joints. I'd brush it off. It's what I do, I'd say. There were good moments, too, training new guys, showing them the ropes. One kid, fresh out of school, reminded me of myself. I took time to explain things properly, made sure he didn't get yelled at unnecessarily. He stuck around, became a friend, but mostly it was endurance. Vacations were short, if we took them at all. We saved for the kids' college, a new roof, emergencies. Sacrifice felt like love, like providing. I didn't question it much, but there were nights I'd lie awake, wondering if this was all there was. Friends from the service had moved on, some to college on the GI Bill, others starting businesses. I could have done that, maybe. But I stayed put, loyal to the job, to the routine. Society back then praised hard workers, the backbone of America, they called us. But in practice, it was different. At gatherings, people asked what I did, and when I said factory work, their eyes glazed over. "Oh, that's nice," they'd say, then turn to someone with a fancier title. It stung, but I pushed it down. Aging crept up slowly. By my 50s, the body rebelled more. Knees ached, back stiffened. Doctor said arthritis from years of standing. I took pills, kept working. Retirement loomed, but pensions weren't what they used to be. The company cut benefits in the 90s after a buyout. We protested a bit, but nothing changed. I felt the judgment then. From younger workers who saw us old-timers as slow, from management who pushed for efficiency over experience. One incident sticks with me. It was 2005, I think. A new manager, fresh from business school, called a meeting, told us we needed to adapt or retire. I was 60 then, still pulling my weight. He singled me out in front of everyone, said my methods were outdated. I felt the heat rise, but I nodded, said nothing. Went home that night, told Ellen. She said, "You should have spoken up." But I hadn't. That was the way I'd always been, respectful, even when respect wasn't returned. Ellen passed in 2010, cancer. Quick, merciful in a way. I was retired by then, forced out at 62 when the plant downsized. Took a small severance, Social Security. The house felt empty without her. Michael lived across state, our daughter in California. They visited, but life moved on. I volunteered at the VFW, helped with community events. People there treated me different, with honor for my service, for sticking it out. That's when the regret started to form. Sitting in those meetings, hearing stories from other vets. Some had left bad jobs early, pursued education, set boundaries. One guy, Bill, told me he quit a similar factory gig in his 40s, went back to school, became a teacher. "Best decision I ever made," he said. I nodded, but inside it hit hard. Why? Hadn't I done something like that? Not quit necessarily, but demanded better treatment, better balance. The decision I should have made earlier was to stand up for my own dignity, to set limits on how much I sacrificed without question, not in anger, but in quiet assertion. To say, no, I won't work that extra shift if it means missing my son's game, or this pay cut isn't fair after 20 years. I thought loyalty meant silence, but it cost me pieces of myself.
More 60s, I started seeing it clearer. At a reunion for old factory hands, stories flowed.
Many felt the same, used up, discarded. One said, "We gave our best years, and for what?" It echoed. Aging brought that perspective. Now, at 72, my days are slower. I walk in the park, read books I never had time for. Grandkids call, ask about Grandpa's stories. I tell them about the war, the work, but I add the lessons. Value yourself, I say. Don't wait to claim your worth. Dignity isn't given, it's held. I see it in how I carry myself now. Straight back, even with the aches. People respond to that. But I wish I'd claimed it sooner, not let disrespect slide. It might have eased the burdens, let me enjoy more with Ellen, be more present. If this resonates, perhaps like the video or subscribe. I'd appreciate sharing these thoughts with others who understand.